Beck and welcome to what I'm currently reading. If you want to talk books with me, please like and subscribe, but let's get into what I've got on my radar this week. And I have a conundrum, and that is because I've finished some things over the weekend and now it's the beginning of the week and I'm like, I don't know what I feel like reading. I finished Not for the Faint of Heart and I also finished The Wedding Forecast, which were two of my anticipated releases for September. And this is an adult rom-com and this one is a adjacent retelling of Robin Hood, and it's got espionage and kidnapping and sapphic romance, and I gave this one a 4 stars and this one a 4 stars. But then I also finished my romantasy book 5 Broken Blades and I ended up giving that one a 3 stars. It was kind of on the cusp of 4 stars. It follows a bunch of assassins. They've been roped together to form a coup and kill the current king because he's a god king. He's got too much power, so they're trying to overthrow him by destroying his crown, which gives him immortality. And within these 6 assassins, there are separate couples, but all of the couples are keeping something from each other, and they're not established couples, you know, they're trying to potentially get together and it's not quite gelling. So I like the intrigue and the tension, and the ending was really surprising. I predicted none of it, like you couldn't see anything coming, and it was pulled off very well. But I don't know, for some reason I could not get more emotionally invested than I wanted to, and I don't know how I feel about the sequel. You know, I think if it's plopped down in front of me, I'll pick it up and read it, but I have no like hunger or vested interest in the sequel. So for now, I'm parking myself on that series, but at least I finished 3 books over the weekend, which is almost unheard of. To be fair, I did a lot of the mileage for 5 Broken Blades in the week leading up to the weekend. Maybe to solve my conundrum, I can actually finally address what I've got on my currently reading shelf on Goodreads, and that is The Tainted Cup on my Kindle, because I've had this paused since the beginning of August. So I probably need to get on board and continue reading it. I'm roughly like 39%, 40% into the book, so I'm not even halfway, and I think that's part of the problem. If I get halfway into a book, the last half just flies by, but it feels like a gradual increase to getting into a book. It started as almost like a cozy mystery where this guy who's an apprentice with a photographic memory goes to a mansion to try and question everyone and find out why the owner, or a visitor to the mansion, sorry, not the owner, the visitor, why this guy has been killed. And he's been killed because a mushroom plant has burst from his chest and that's how he's died. And in this book, it's very like nature is the enemy, which is really cool. And I love the fantasy setting that it's percolating and showing to you gradually. It's a city where everyone lives within different walls, and there are giant leviathans on the other side of the walls, and then also like spores. So those spores cause different reactions in the body. So it's fascinating, but it's gone from a cozy mystery into a political conspiracy. And while I'm liking it, I also just wasn't in the mood for it at the time. Plus then my Kindle got borrowed by my partner, and so I've just like completely deviated. So I should probably continue The Tainted Cup. I don't know if I'm in the mood for it though, but I probably should. And then I'm also currently reading an audiobook for The Spell Shop, and I've seen this go around a lot, and it's a popular cozy fantasy book about Rhea, I think that's her name, and Kaz, her spider plant. And Kaz is like a sentient plant, so he talks to her and he's basically like her only friend. She's very much a recluse. She's a librarian. She has her own research, but there's a coup in the city. There's a rebellion happening and there are huge fires, and she escapes the city. She's already preempted that the rebellion will get too much, so she's loaded some of her books into crates and put them on a boat, and so she's going back to where she was born. She lived there until she was about 8 or 9 years old, and her parents then took her to the city of Elysium, and that's where she is now. So she's leaving Elysium and going back to her small island, and I believe on this island she starts to rekindle relationships with the people now living there. And there's already been talks about magic, and given that she worked in a library and she has spell books, I imagine that there's going to be some kind of connection there, which I'm looking forward to. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only 14% in, but it's a really fun audiobook. So for the most part, I'd say that deserves the hype so far, but we'll see how I feel when I'm further into it. But that is what I'm reading right now. I don't have anything else immediately on my to be read pile for the week, but we'll see what happens. Maybe actually Oathbringer. I should continue my read of Oathbringer after I finish The Spell Shop. That's what I'm forgetting. But that's it for now. I'll let you know what happens in my next update. In a fun turn of events, I have found another 5-star book, and I liked it so much because I was listening to it as an audiobook that I ended up going out and purchasing a physical copy. So I finished The Spell Shop, and this is such a beautiful cozy fantasy. And when you go into a cozy fantasy, you kind of expect it to be absorbing and have a great atmosphere, and that's what this had. So Keela, our main character, I Like, I really liked her, but at the beginning she was a little bit abrasive. And I think that's because she spent so much time being an introvert that her introvertedness turned into a self-isolation when she was at the library. And then when she went to her family's island of Caltray to go back and live in her parents' old home and bring it back to life again, she almost needs to find herself again on the island. So she almost has to rediscover how to interact with people. She's so delightfully awkward. There is a romantic subplot in here with Laren, and he lives nearby. And so I loved seeing her work on the magic spells because she's brought with her like 5 crates of books. So she's studying how to use magic. It can be quite volatile if it's not used correctly. And I just also loved the plot in here because sometimes cozy fantasy can be a bit light on the plot, and for that reason, it doesn't feel like it's got a driving force unless you've got really strong intentional characters. But this had both. This had a fantastic plot that also made me stress at certain points because I wanted the best for these characters. And then it also had fantastic leads in Kiela and her best friend Kaz, who's the spider plant. So I just loved how this was bursting with character and how it was sweet and romantic, and how everyone in this book chose kindness and they chose to rally to each other, even with characters that seemed really unlikable. I just loved the second chances. I loved the kindness. And one of the quotes in here was, "Family is not always who you're related to," which really just sums up the essence of this book and why I loved it so much. So I gave it 5 stars. Also, at some point I chose to pick up a graphic novel because I was not really sure where my reading mood was taking me and I wanted to read something physically. So I finished volume 6 of Lore Olympus, and surprisingly I enjoyed it more than volume 5. Volume 5 made me go, I feel like I need to permanently put the series down because it's maybe going in a direction I don't like. But in this one, we deal with Persephone's image and the rumors that are spreading. And for that reason, Hades protects her. And so she's almost, not quite, but almost moved into his home because she needs to be close by. So I really like the proximity here and how that encouraged conversations between both Persephone and Hades, and it just showed the wholesomeness and the sweetness of their relationship. And it felt like this volume clawed back what the previous volume didn't. Like, this one really set the Hades and Persephone tone of being the main characters and the focus of the book. Whereas in the past, I was worried that it was getting way too convoluted and diluted by all of the other gods and this plot that might have potentially brought Persephone not to the forefront anymore. So I was really nervous, but the series brought itself back, and the way this volume ended felt almost like a conclusion in a particular aspect pertaining to a couple of characters. I'm being vague on purpose because it's volume 6 in a series, so it feels like I could safely put it down here and feel satisfied, whereas when I put volume 5 down, I felt disappointed. So this really brought things back for me. I don't know how many more volumes are going to be after this one, but I'm happy and I'm satisfied, and this did a good job. I gave it a 4 stars, and then after finishing a 5-star book and a decent 4-star, I was like, I don't know what to read now. And my library was like, I have a solution. And that is the first Monk and Robot book. Now, Becky Chambers is one of my favorite authors. I've read this before, but I wanted to revisit it because it's talking about going off the beaten path and finding a direction that works for you rather than a direction that you think you need to go on. And I just love that about the tone of this book. It's a little bit existential, but it's also soft and welcoming at the same time. And it follows a traveling tea monk, and they go off the beaten path and run into someone unexpected and make an unlikely friend. And I just really like the tone of this story. So I'm really looking forward to listening to the audiobook. It's like a 4-hour audiobook, so it'll go by really quickly. So that is my plan to round out the rest of September. And then when I've got a few more days left, I imagine finishing that audiobook won't take me too long. I'll dive back into my Stormlight Archive reread because I have put it off for long enough. But that was my week of reading. It kind of went all over the place and then got brought back on track by some excellent finds. So I'm very lucky that I ended up really loving the Spell Shop. But thank you so much for watching this video. Come chat to me down below in the comments about what you're currently reading. I would be interested to know. But thank you again for watching. Like and subscribe if you like the video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.